Hey everyone, welcome to the All Things Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Nick Dorsey, and our next guest is the founder of Fangled Group, a strategy-first multilingual group marketing and sales consultant who has successfully driven business group in more than 100 countries, driving revenue in tens of billions of dollars. How about that, everyone? He is also the host of Fangledcast podcast, where incredible guests take deep dives into relevant topics for the business world. Hey guys, welcome to the All Things Gratitude podcast. Andrew Deutsch. How's it going, Andrew? Woo, what's up, buddy? My biggest critic.
Biggest critic. Are you calling me big? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, I mean, that's up to you. How you want to interpret it is up to you, my friend. Now, everybody, that's a joke going back. When I started my season 2, I was doing them during the week, so it was easier for Andrew to get on and everything, and he'd jump on and just making jokes because I knew his sense of humor, and I'd always call him my biggest critic. So it was kind of fun doing all that stuff back then. So, Andrew, how's it going, man?
I'm doing
how's
great.
Business?
Doing great. Business is good. We were talking before the show. Yeah. Whether you do or don't believe in the vaccine thing, one thing that we know the vaccine does is it brings confidence back into folks.
Oh,
and more and more folks are getting vaccinated. More and more folks are getting back to work. In the clients are reaching out, and projects are growing, and we're doing some of the best work we've done in a long time for our clients.
I agree with you. I work at a 4-diamond resort for my 9 to 5, and the hotel's between 90 and 100% capacity on the weekend. Pools open, spas open. I mean, people are just all over the place. So, I mean, I think that's really good for society. I think we really needed it because people are really struggling. And like you said, if you believe it or not, like I said, my parents got the vaccine, and it's like a 180 difference from 6 months ago. Their mindset's so much different. They're out enjoying life. They're back to where they need to be. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm in a state that's fully open and everything, so it makes it, it's like we're back to normal, but I know other states are getting closer and closer to that. So hopefully by midsummer, man, we're, where we need to be. So,
I wish I had invested in barbecue futures. I could make a fortune.
That or Zoom at the beginning of all this stuff. Jeez, but but I'll leave that alone. So, Fangled Technology, man, what's going on with that? And explain to people who don't know what it is, what you guys do.
Well, at the core, we're what we call a strategy-first marketing and sales consultancy, not an agency. And our job is to help folks forget first about all of these really shiny, fun tactical tools that don't mean anything if you don't have a strategy, and get back to really understanding who is your customer, needs, desires, and the problems that you can solve for them. And then look into your own company. What are the things about you that you can differentiate in a way that really matters to your customer, also in a way that puts you in a unique, super niche where other people trying to solve those problems can't compete with you.
Awesome, man. I was listening and I like it. Oh, sorry. I clicked this off. I was listening and you had some, I always try to listen to people's podcasts that they were on before the show and everything. And you mentioned marketing there. And one thing you said in one of them is everybody at every level, it's not a direct quote, but everybody at every level in a company should do some type of marketing with the company or they're involved with it. And I like that because I'm in facilities. I'm a facilities person, but I'm always thinking when we're doing something, what's the look going to be? What the customer is going to enjoy? What's best for our place? What's best? Because I work for a tribal entity. What's best for the tribe? Always forward thinking. And what is it going to take where it takes this one person walks in, they tell 10 people who tell 10 more people who tell 10 more people. Word to word, mouth to mouth marketing is the best, but I'm always forward thinking, what sign's going to go here? What's that? So I love that, man. A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, your industry is the prime example. What we say is that every person, whether they're your employee, a service provider, or even an outsourced, the guy who's cutting the grass in your parking lot, all of those people are part of your marketing team. They're part of your customer service team, and they need to be the advocates for your brand. They need to be your brand ambassadors. And we say every client that we work at the core, we want our customers to learn how to convert every touch into a voracious advocate for their brand. And that starts internally.
I agree, because our groundskeepers, like you're just saying, the first thing people see is our entrance, is our coming into the building, is our property. So that's the first wow factor you want for someone.
Mhm.
Then you hit them with the inside design, then, or whatever type of company you are. I work for a company. You walked in, and if you didn't even know what they were, you walked in, it was just a wow factor looking in the building, and that automatically intrigues people right off the bat.
Imagine you walked into your resort, and the guy, I'm sure that you have your own facility. People imagine it's an outsourced guy cutting the grass, and I pull in and I say to the guy, "Where's the head office?" And he goes, "I don't friggin' know." Mm-hmm. Or he says, "It's over there." And if he doesn't know, he says, "You know what? I'm the guy who cuts the grass here. I don't know. Let me find someone who can point you in that direction." And if you negotiate with your subcontractors so that their people recognize when they're on your property, they have to follow your company's rules, is a very basic part of the total thing that we do with our clients. It makes all the difference.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. We're huge on customer service training, and that's big internally. It's amazing. I've never worked somewhere, Andrew, and I'm not saying this because I worked there to kiss their behinds or anything. I'm being absolute serious.
Yeah, sure. We believe.
Yeah, I've never worked at a place. Everybody in there says hello, hi, how are you? All the employees, and this is even before I worked there. They didn't even know who I was when I was going there for all my badging and background checks and everything. I was like, my God, these people are friendly, and it just changes the attitude when somebody walks in. It really does. So love that, man.
Yeah, years ago, I remember I had to do a visit to a factory where they made a specific brand of Japanese cars here in the U.S. But when I drove through the parking lot and I looked around, with the exception of people that had trucks, I would say 70% of the cars in the parking lot were that brand. And you look at that and you go, wow, could you imagine you pull into a Japanese car manufacturing parking lot and all you see are Chevys? And you go, these people are not advocates for the brand. They're going to get an employee discount and they're still not buying that product. I'm not buying it. It's those kinds of little things like that matter.
Yep. Back in the day when I started my whole career in plumbing. So when I was a field plumber, we're at residence and they'd always ask what kind of plumbing you want, or how do I know what to pick? And I go, always ask the plumber who's doing your house, what's in their house. You'll know what the best stuff is. And I remember that lady going, oh, that makes sense. So what do you have? So I went on and told her, most people, what they do, they will back up what they're working with or working on or working for, most, not all. But if they have a great brand, they will introduce that into their own lifestyle too. So
it's so funny you say that. A friend of mine asked me, he wanted to buy a hot tub. And he said, you know anybody who's got whatever? And I said, dude, do yourself a favor, do an internet search in about 3 different cities for hot tub repair places and call the repair shop and say, is there a brand I should not buy? And it turned out all 3 that he called named the same brand, and it was the one that he was negotiating. Yeah. So needless to say, he bought something else.
Yeah. And that's good. And, he talked to those people. Guess who's going to be working on his hot tub? One of those 3 companies, something went down. So it's perfect. Absolutely. So how's the Fangled podcast going, man?
It's great. I've got a couple more that are we're backed up several weeks as we go forward. But the concept behind it is sort of the opposite of what a lot of people are doing. What I do first is I look for questions that people want answered, and then I go out and find an expert, rather than just kind of going to the mill and gosh, I got to fill something for this Saturday and grabbing someone in my network. I tend not to bring folks in that are my everyday communication folks, so that I can bring in, like for example, on Monday, there's a woman who's an expert in micro niche marketing. She's a Canadian, Chalad Decoy, I think. I always get her name wrong because I'm bad at that, but she's brilliant. And she came from Frito-Lay, from Pepsi, from Coke, and these places. And the idea was, how do you really explain, you've got a million names for the same thing, whether it's Blue Ocean Strategy or whatever, but she's truly an expert in helping someone not only understand how to pitch their product, but how to do what we do also, which is dig deep to really understand where is that micro niche where you can get the best clients who pay the best in a way that keeps you from having to deal with competitors that aren't as good as you at being able to solve those problems. I had a guy on who's an old friend of mine from college days. His expertise is understanding how human curiosity benefits the output of companies and how to measure and how to exercise and teach to increase levels of curiosity with proven levels of output at all levels of the company. So rather than the what's your journey kind of stuff, I'm really finding people that have incredible backgrounds to dig into these things that are real curiosities. And the reason we do the podcast, I mean, I don't keep it a secret. It's so that people get a feel for who we are at Fangled to decide if we're the right fit for them. Yeah. I had someone the other day say, I listened to your podcast. You're just not my kind of guy. I said, look how much time I saved in not pitching you our product. Thank you. Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with that. He was up front and honest with you. And that's a win-win actually for you.
Yeah. The moment you think you can solve everyone's problems and you're the right guy for everybody, it's time to wake up.
It is, man, because, I get some trolls, and I think it's funny, but you're one of them. But but when I got them, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm making it, because I took that as a positive. I'm like, okay, I'm getting through to people. Yeah. Something's going, and somebody has to argue with it because for some reason their butt hurt or their feelings got hurt. And I don't know why. Just don't turn it on.
Well, for us, when you live in this world of consulting, you sell your business to the next client based on the great accomplishments that you made with your previous clients.
Yeah.
So taking on a client that's not a good fit, you can't go to market with bad outcomes. Yeah. You want to talk about great outcomes. So when I can avoid a client where even if we did great work because of who they are and their own culture internally, they're not going to implement anything. It's a black eye that we don't want to have. So, part of the strategy of being a consultant is also finding clients that truly can benefit from what you do, and don't waste your time just collecting money from folks you're not helping.
That's I agree with that, because working with corporate America companies, some of them just bring you in just for face value. Okay, we're taking care of this. We'll show off this money, do your 4-week course, and then get out of here.
Yeah, I remember in my sales days, there were companies that we would want to sell to, and they would always ask they would send you the request for quote. You'd give them the price, and you knew that they weren't going to do it. And one day, a very large tobacco company in Brazil had asked me for a quote. I knew they weren't going to buy from us. Yeah. And I said to the guy, I said, look, if you want me to do a quote, we charge $100 for those. He said, what do you mean? I said, if you want me to help you beat up my competition for a better price, it'll be $100, equivalent of $100. Yeah. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, I know you're not going to buy from me. So if you're asking me to do the work, to put a quote together, it's going to cost you $100. And I didn't do it. I just refused. Yeah. I'm not going to continue to quote so you can beat up my competitor. It doesn't make sense. It's the same with the consulting world. Somebody who wants to come to us for one more reason to fail so that they don't have to go outside. That's not in the books. Yeah. Yeah. It happens a lot. A chief marketing officer of a company will be told by the CEO, you need to bring in an outside person. You don't have the right people. He gets insulted. So he goes out and quotes 3 or 4 people and tries to make it fail so that won't happen to him again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I won't even go down that route.
It's the dark side. It's Saturday. I get to talk about the dark side of things.
Yeah, it's frustrating. That's what it is, especially when you work at places. I've worked in places in the past that are like that. It's like it's always somebody else's fault. It's like, look in the mirror, man. Yeah, it's pretty obvious what the problem is.
Yeah. But at Fangled, we continue to grow because we really do bring great accomplishments to the table from the past that work for the future.
That's awesome, man. Hey, when we went on a call, God, it's had been about 6 months now, something like that. It's been a minute, and you're showing me some new technology you guys were working on. Is that still going on with the background drop stuff?
Yeah. The video stuff. What you want? You want my elevator speech? I bring my own elevator.
See, guys, this is stuff I love what Andrew's doing right here. This is what makes fun with the so-called Zoom calls or working from home with the backgrounds. You gotta have a little fun with work, man.
Well, the thing is, people in the something just froze.
You froze.
Oh, there we go.
Are you stuck in a box?
You get stuck in a box in your Zoom calls, and we'll teach you how to get out of the box.
Yeah, it's very affordable too. Everything, guys. So you guys should.
If I get bored, I just hang out with my buddies and play some poker.
There, see. hey, everyone out there. Hey, Andrew's his websites and everything are down in the comments. If you're on LinkedIn, man, check it out. It was really fun. Down in the comments, see right there where that arrow's pointing. Follow that arrow. You'll find the comments. And no, Andrew's a great guy, man. And that technology has going. It just makes it fun for presentations, for Zoom calls. I mean, just for all that stuff. Because I was stuck for a long time, for 8 or 9 months working from home, and it was 7, 8, 9 Zoom calls a day. And you just want to talk about just getting beat up, man, and just mentally getting checked out. God, something like that would have been a lot of fun just to mess with people.
Yeah. Well, the real application behind it is not just goofing around, but for example, if you're going to do a PowerPoint presentation for your client, instead of death by PowerPoint, what you can actually do is you can bring in your PowerPoint and stay engaged. So you're actually part of the conversation. If somebody asks you a question, you engage and you talk to them so that you're still connected. There's still that humanity. And then you can go on and, you don't turn these people into the zombies. That's what the tech is really about.
Oh, and it's a great program, man. I love it. I mean, it was like, when you're showing it to me, I was like, this is awesome, because you had all these bombs in the background, like a dinosaur popping up and all this stuff. Man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's my favorite that I joke around with people is, we'll get something to drink and then we'll hold a press conference.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's
no, but tell it, Andrew, you've sat in these, board meetings or whatever, and you've been in all different types of stuff in corporate America. Seriously, just having that type for a presentation up on the screen, especially if you're not on site, it just keeps people a little more engaged instead of just a boring slide coming across, slide coming across, slide.
Let's go back to history. I worked overseas. I was gone 200 plus days a year. There was 10 years I lived overseas. Mm-hmm. And for me, if you look at the old movies from the 90s, when video conferencing was first kind of the joke in the movie, they'd wheel in a cart with the VCR down below and a TV, and the guy's head that was me. That was my life back then. So I've been doing it forever. So even back in the days when a slideshow was literally those little slides in a projector,
I learned
that if I had a boring slide on the screen, like a bunch of numbers and things like that, the next slide was missing. Why? Because the screen went white and woke everybody back up. Yeah. So you start to figure out these presentation techniques that keep people in the room. So you and I are both bidding on the same project on Zoom, and we have similar services. You do a great job. I do a great job. We've got similar price, similar outcomes, but I can do a presentation where I remain engaged and make that feeling connection where people actually remember. At the end of the day, they're going to go, do we want to go with Nick or do we want to go with that guy who connected with us, whether they consciously or subconsciously? It's the same with the name of my company. People never forget Fangled. It always starts a conversation. Where the hell did you get that name from? I'll tell you the story. Yeah. So, it's those kinds of things in the sales world where you can have people connect. I think our mutual friend, I think Allison, she from Felt Marketing. The reason her company's called Felt is because she's brilliant. And she knows that if people can feel it, even in the B2B industrial space, it matters, and people want to do business because you've listened and they feel your connection, and they also know what you can do for them from a benefit perspective. Mm-hmm.
So where the hell did the name Fangled come from? Direct quote.
Oh crap! Now I got to say. So there's a long story before it, but basically the original name of my company was the Deutsch Group, and through a story that doesn't matter for this, we ended up no longer continuing. I had never registered it in the United States. It was registered in my office in Brazil, and someone vindictively registered the trademark to prevent me from continuing to be the Deutsch Group. So when we decided to come back into space, I was kidding around with a buddy of mine about coming up with a more clever, more memorable name. And he said, what are you guys going to be doing? I said, well, we're strictly consulting and marketing and sales. And he joked and said, oh, you're going to do some of that newfangled marketing stuff. And I went, no. He goes, well, you're not going to be old fangled, are you? I said, no, we're just fangled right in the moment looking forward. We're not old or new. We're fangled. And he laughed. And then the next day I needed to go on a call and I used the name. And the guy said, it's brilliant. Well, this was 2013 when we first came up with the name. And I bump into people I haven't seen in 5 years. They go, aren't you the Fangled guy? It's got a great story. It's unique. People remember it. And it helps us to grow the business. And the reality is we are Fangled. We're right in the moment with what works today to help you in the future.
It's amazing when actually people are coming up with names of companies or podcasts or whatever. It actually comes from someone else. A lot of times it doesn't come from that person. Yeah. Like my podcast came from Professor Pete Alexander.
Oh, sure. Pete? I know Pete.
Yeah.
Great
and he goes,
dude. Great dude.
He goes, you're always having fun. You're always showing gratitude. You're always uplifting people. How about all things gratitude? I was like, ding, 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 ding. I mean, it was that simple. Well, and that wasn't even in my mindset when I was thinking of names. So I was like, cool.
Well, think about it. The ones that the people make up on their own are always so literal.
Yeah.
I'm in the car business, so it has to say auto. And then you go to the biggest brands, the most popular brands in the world. What is a Nike? What's an Apple? What's an Amazon? What does Amazon have to do except that it's A to Z?
Yeah.
Everything you want from A to Z, which wasn't, I don't believe that was really their initial thought, but that's what they say it was. It's easy to give meaning to something after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it has more meaning when other people bring it up too, because that's what people see in you, and that's what I liked about this was when Pete brought it up. I was just like, is that how you guys really view me? Is that, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, then that's cool then.
Yeah. Yeah. I know some guys that, we should name their company things like Knucklehead.
Yeah.
But it's the naming process is fascinating because so many people, you got to have a great name. I've never seen a business fail because it had a bad name or a good name.
Yeah.
But when it enhances your brand and it really speaks to who you are and what you do, it matters. Mm-hmm. It's the same with, when we're building a brand strategy for a customer. Color palettes matter. They're not going to make or break you, but they'll certainly enhance who you are and what you do. Style, I'm a huge proponent of building a brand style guide, which we do for clients, and then living by it so that there's that consistency and going forward.
Our friend Kelly Robinson, Pawn a Nose. Nothing to do with recruiting, just Pawn a Nose. And finally, after knowing her for a while, I was like, what does Pana mean? And she gave the background of it, but it was intriguing because it starts the conversation.
Yep. And where it enhances her business, because she's really good at what she does, is that it separates her. There's a differentiator there because most people have a very negative outlook towards recruiters and headhunters, as they're called.
Yeah.
And she's not a recruiter headhunter. She enhances your business through more than that.
Yes.
So, she doesn't look at her potential clients as meat like most headhunters do.
Yeah.
And even if you don't get, I go into a long diatribe about my distaste for a lot of the headhunters out there, is the moment that you're no longer a candidate, you're a ghost.
Yep. Absolutely.
And she knows, she recognizes the value of the people that she works with. She's fantastic. And Pana Knows shows you that she's not. The fact that it doesn't even sound like it makes you want to know.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brilliant. I agree 100%. So that's what I like about all these different names. Like your name of your company. That's why I asked in this, but I asked a while back too. But, just asking people, what's that mean? What's the meaning behind it? Or how did it come up? Because to me, that's the first conversation with somebody. And you're going to know at that point if you're going to work out with them or not. You really will. So, I mean, it's just that icebreaker to get the conversation going instead of straight business call.
Yep.
So I like it, man.
I fully agree with you. Hey, we found something we agree on, man.
Hey, finally.
I can stop being your troll.
It's all good, man. Still troll me. It's fun.
Okay, I'll just blow this thing up,
Yeah, there it is. Hey, so what's the future looking like for you guys? I know you're busy and everything, but I mean, is there any big plans, anything new coming up? I know you might not want to release it yet, but
well, we are, the Fangled Tech is actually in transition. When we initially hit the market, we were doing all work in disruptive technologies and helping companies bring it to market was 80-90%. So we made a decision as a team about a month ago when we're rebranding to Fangled Group. Which is what was in the intro that you used. So the logo is going to change. It'll look similar, but it much better describes who we are and doesn't pigeonhole us just into the tech.
Okay.
But we've got some really neat technology products that we're working with clients that we're bringing to market that are they have implications that are pretty amazing. Like for example, imagine that you were a guy who has a fleet of 12 crews repairing roofs after storm damage, with a new system where we've been able to tie the National Weather Service, the government statistical data about regions where storm damage happens more often than not, as well as a geofencing system. As the hail is hitting people's houses within a 1 square meter space, we're not going to go that small. We can start marketing for the roofing repair company to the cell phones and internet of the people in that area, that we can have an estimator out within 24 hours.
Oh, nice.
So tying a bunch of different technologies together. And then also we have a company that does a true AI learning software process for industrial distributors that changes the game for, most industrial distributors like the Fastenals and Grangers.
Yeah.
They hire multitudes of people to keep a few because they never get up to speed. You got 1 million SKUs in your catalog and the people don't know where to start. With this predictive modeling, it digs into understanding the personas within each of the market channels that people do, and it's constantly learning. So imagine you show up and you can ask a few questions to truly understand who that customer is, and the system is already showing you what are the most highly probable products that they will buy first, and what's the path to purchase along those things. If you're a sales guy who knows 100 out of the 1,000 pages in the catalog, the software is going to be making suggestions for your existing customers that you may have never even thought of, because it knows in that market channel, people of this persona who bought these products in the past have an 85 percentile of getting a product you didn't even know was in the book. So it's like having a master thinker working for you. There's just some really cool things that we're working on bringing to market for our clients.
That's awesome, because as a facilities person, when you get the Granger book, it's like 1,000 pages.
Yep.
And it's just like, you only know exactly where to go and on what you get, because you just can't go through all those pages.
Well, a perfect example is, imagine you're in the fastener business and you're selling thousands and thousands of roofing nails to a roofing company. And so you would suggest to them tarps and, things that roofing companies. What if it turned out that 80% of all roofing companies every 4 years buy new ladders, and you hadn't thought about ladders, or covers for the bed of the truck, or some weird toolkit that you as a salesman never even knew was in the book? The AI would be suggesting next time you talk to them, you're going to fill their order for nails, but you've got all these other things that they buy you never thought of. And you could tell by probability based on all the data that's constantly learning in the system. Now, if on Friday, 20 of your sales guys go out and they follow that algorithm at that 80% probability and nobody sells, each time they don't sell, the probability is changing because it's truly learning. In a normal company, there's a guy called the sales analyst that they bring in. And once a month, they go through the books and go, well, this stuff is, and they come up with in that moment in time. And sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. In this case, every second of every day that either people accept the yeses and the nos on the offers that go out help it learn better. It's fascinating. And we've seen companies 20%, 30% increase in sales to existing customers in less than 90 days.
That is interesting, because we have a big inventory system where I work, just because of hotel rooms, spas, pools, and there's so many stuff. If you look on the shelf, it's just like, we're never going to use this stuff. Why was it bought? Why was it, because somebody was trying to guess, because the system. Oh yeah. I'm intrigued.
It's neat stuff. And there's so many ways now to truly understand the use of data based on the behaviors when you understand the personas of your customer base. To completely and totally leave your competition in the dirt.
I've had a couple really good reps who really came in and really understood our business. Then you have the reps who just show up. They know you're a cash cow for them, so they're like, hey, whatever. Hey, we're going to sell you this because it costs this much. Try this out. It never works. And it gets frustrating. It's just a lot of wasted money. So I love it, man.
Yeah, think about it in the industrial space. In the same concept. So I make 3/4 inch steel bolts at this, and you make 3/4 inch steel bolts. So we're basically coming to market with something that really does fit in that case of it's a commodity, something real basic like that. Well, how would I best you in the market and take the customer? Maybe I integrate with their system. So the buyer never even has to think about it. They have my word. They're going to have my bolts on the floor based on their production schedule, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't have to think about it. Or I have a system where my folks will come in and do inventory for you because you're not satisfied. There's so many different ways to meet the need besides just, hey, you want to buy these? I'm a penny cheaper. Buy me this week. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can share that value with your customer, you eliminate the competition from being able to do anything because they don't have the flexibility or the foresight to do that.
I love it, man. I love stuff like that, because it's always growing, coming from where I work, or especially when I was in manufacturing. Oh my, just stuff like that. You got to stay. If it's just a tiny step, you have to stay above the competition, or else you're just going to be left behind quick.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I go through examples for days, but it really is, again, if you don't understand the needs and wants and help a buyer understand what's in it for them, what's in it for their company, what's in it for them as the buyer. If I'm the guy that can make the buyer's life easier, chances are I'm the guy who's going to be supplying them.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust me, that's all I want. I just want somebody to come in, stock my stuff, get me what I need, and leave. I don't want to waste time, looking for stuff. Now, up front, when I'm first starting, maybe I'll research stuff just to make sure. But after that, I just want the guy or the lady just to come in, take care of everything, and walk away and give me a PO. That's it.
You just hit on the key.
Yeah.
How do I, as a marketer or as a salesperson, gain your trust that I can make your life? Because just saying I can make your life easier doesn't mean anything.
No.
If I can get you to trust me that I can, the relationship then becomes solid. It's all about trust.
If you troll my podcast, you get trust. So
you have a podcast?
I think so. I'm not sure. I do this live thing on Saturdays at 8 a.m. But I mean,
can I come on there sometime?
Yeah. I mean, we'll just talk. I mean, it's just friends talking, right?
Send me a calendar link and I'll see if I can find a date available.
I will do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Yeah. See, guys, this is why I like Andrew right here, man. We can ad-lib together on that stuff. So it's great. As you notice, coming on this show, it's a little different than most podcasts. I mean, this is more of a live stream than a podcast. But this is what I enjoy. I just want to have conversations with people, want to have fun, and I want to show a different side of people because it's not always about business. Because for me, business is building relationships too. And you have to build them not at a strict personal level, but at a good level where if you came into my office and you're selling me something, we could sit down in the office and talk for 15, 20 minutes and just laugh and joke. It just makes it a lot easier. Talk about our kids, talk about grandkids, talk about whatever, I mean, instead of the person that comes in, straight suit, just all professional, just and leave. I'm like, who the hell is that, man? Have a little personality with me, please.
Yeah. There's environments where it's appropriate, but it's rare anymore. And of course, back in the old days, it was, sell sheets and boxes of donuts and life was good. Yep. Nowadays, you actually have to have a value for the person that you're dealing with. Because giving them diabetes isn't a great sales technique.
My crew would love it. But anyway, that's a different story. But no, I mean, now, we're getting like people are bringing in like logoed cups and, just different other things too. So it's kind of, oh, here you go. What do you got? Oh, I thought you had a logoed cup. It was just ironic.
Calm down. It ain't all comedy.
Hey, it's all good. I was waiting for the Fangled Tech or Group, cup to come up there. There's the logo.
No, I somewhere around here I think there's one.
Good stuff, man. So any guests coming up on the podcast that you can reveal, or do you wait till
I told you about her? Yeah. The other is a woman named Sejal Thacker, who is a really interesting. She was a first generation immigrant from India who was just abused by kids in school because she was different and weird. She was the only Indian kid in her school. It had inspired her to go and get a degree. She became an attorney, and now she works with companies proactively to teach them how not to end up in court because they use their bias to make life miserable for employees. And as a matter of fact, I found her. I listened to her TED Talk. She's brilliant, but she just a super warm, intelligent person who speaks well. And, you know, if you talk to companies that she's worked with, they change. She recognizes how to get people comfortable with change, and also not how to cater to all of the differences, but how to accept them and learn from people that are different than you, which is a huge part of my career. So
it's awesome. I love that. I'm going to look forward to that one. That's great. You know, just, you know, because people now are so stuck in one way.
Yep.
You know, and it's just, people need to be more open-minded. Yeah. And I'm not trying to tell people how to live. My opinion, my view, but when you're more open-minded and you can really put yourself in somebody else's shoes and see where they came from, and, you know, try to at least understand, it makes stuff so much easier, Andrew. Yeah. And the world sometimes gets so fast that people forget about that. Yeah. You know, and
people talk all the time. It drives me nuts about, I hate change. I don't like change. Everybody. And I don't believe that to be true. I think what happens is that we preface change instead of calling it growth. So, you know, when someone asked me the other day, you know, how do you address change? It was Julian Roberts on his podcast, you know, in an organization. And I said, well, you start by figuring out what's in it for them before you even bring it up. And you include people in it so that it's theirs. We're going to grow together. We want you to be involved and make it happen. I mean, the reality is I spent the whole first half of my adult career overseas. So I've been in, I think, 120 something countries. At one time, I was selling into 75 countries at the same time. And what I've discovered is that when I recognize something that's different than what I know, I'm ready to learn and gain from it. And sometimes you see things that are different that are just horrible.
Yeah.
But even that experience makes you a better person. So, you know, when you start to recognize, I give anyone a challenge. Next time you go to a restaurant, close the menu and say to the waiter, what's your favorite thing? The service team, what's your favorite thing on the menu? Bring that to me. And you'll get something you've never had before. Now, if you like it, you just experienced what happens when you take a risk and do something different. If you don't like it, you've learned something you're never going to order again. And that's a good experience too. But if you're constantly ordering that same burger off the menu, you're not growing.
Boring. That's what I said. But no, I agree with you 100%. You're not growing if you do the same thing over and over and over again. You know, a couple things, Andrew, brings up a couple thoughts to my mind is 1 year, my wife and I were in Mexico. We went to this little island called Stoda Island. You want to talk about beyond third world, you know, no doors, dirt floors, only get like, I think 200 or 300 gallons of water a month. And people don't realize you go through that fast. And I just told my wife, you know, look, chickens running in and out of the house. I mean, it was just, I told my wife, I go, every teenager in America needs to come here and realize how good they have it.
Yep.
Seriously, that was the first thought in my head. I was like, you know, these people here are grateful for me giving them $5 for a tip for driving me around. That made their week. And I go, everybody needs to see this. And another thing that came up, Andrew, was a lot of people don't know my huge background is I work with for Indian tribes, entities, and I work for a lot of them, and I absolutely love it. And when I was, we were at a conference once, and the director of gaming, who was native, one day we were just eating, and he's like, "Thank you." I go, "Thank you for what?" He goes, "You're the first outsider to come in and actually ask us about our heritage and our tribe." And I'm like, that surprises me. He's like, "Why?" I go, "Why wouldn't you want to know who you work for?" But that's what has been ingrained in me my whole life is you need to know who you work for. You do the research, you figure it out, you know, and I don't know.
Go back in the Fangledcast on YouTube and look for I forget which episode it is. I don't want to take the time during this to look it up.
Yeah.
I interviewed this guy who I saw on a YouTube thing. His name's Palmer Gambler. He grew up on the Navajo reservation. And the whole purpose of the podcast was my curiosity. How does a guy on the reservation without really any entrepreneurial role models become such a great entrepreneur? He has a fashion line called the Stoic Native. His stuff is so cool. And we had a whole conversation about how he grew up without those role models and where he got the spark to become an entrepreneur. I learned so much about, by the way, they're not Navajo, they're Diné Indians.
Diné, yep.
The Diné native tribe. He doesn't like to be called a Navajo, but for folks who don't know what a dene
Yeah.
is. I'm saying it, but it's fascinating. Every time I have an opportunity to talk to someone in a different culture, my ears get huge and I'm listening because there's so much to learn. Just because they don't do it the way you do it doesn't mean they do it wrong.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and, you know, I've worked for multiple tribes that have been coastal tribes, plain tribes, you know, people who lived in teepees and canoes and longhouses, you know, just learning about that and speaking with the elders, you know, because the elders are the ones who experienced a lot of these issues, you know, back in the, you know, it'd be early 1900s, mid 1900s now, you know, and before casinos, before bingo halls, you know, when it was just straight nothing. And they were fending for themselves, you know, and it's great listening to those stories. And
I got to understand it. I got to tell you a story. So, you know, I lived in Brazil for about 10 years and way in the South. So it wasn't in the rainforest. It was in a region I think it's as far south of the equator as maybe Savannah, Georgia is north. Beautiful, beautiful place and close to Uruguay, close to Argentina and whatever. I had a client come in and he wanted to do an Amazon adventure. And the city, the principal city in the middle of the Amazon is called Manaus. Okay. So rather than just call a regular tourist company, I reached people that I knew and arranged for us to go out on this boat that this family owned. And we did the Amazon River tour, but we hung out on the boat. This is a family. No one in the family ever slept in a bed. They lived in hammocks. And part of the tour was we were paying them to go to their house, have dinner at their house, and sleep at their house. So everyone in the family slept in this big open room that was like a living room with hammocks hanging in it. And the house floats because half the year the water is 40 feet deep, and the other half of the year during the dry season it's on the ground. So it was just this incredible adventure of really understanding what it would be like to be in the Amazon, as opposed to let's pay extra, stay on normal beds, have, you know, the catered food that's more to our liking than what they would eat there, and experience nothing except for monkeys. You know, you go to the lodge and you see that kind of stuff. That really is the difference between embracing things that are different than you. And, you know, how many people do you know who would go to Mexico and all they want to do is go to Cancun, where they got a 5-star resort, the pool boy and otherwise. When I lived in Florida years ago, people used to ask me, well, you were in Mexico. This is before Mexico was really huge. What's Cancun like? Well, it's kind of like Daytona Beach, except in Mexico, they speak better English. Yeah. You know, you're not going to a foreign country when you go to a tourist resort behind the gate.
See, I really like getting out exploring when I go somewhere. You know, I mean, even though we did like, we've done the Mayan tours and everything. And that's still, it's still kind of a tourist thing. They have it like that, but it's still amazing to look at all that stuff. It's just like, it's mind blowing to me. It's like, I'm looking up at this, you know, if you want to call it a pyramid, I believe they call it that or whatever they call it. And I'm just like, that thing's like 1,000 feet tall. And they got that very big, large concrete granite brick at the very top. I'm like, damn, you know,
but you're hitting on the exact example of where people need to grow. So if you ask the typical person that we know in our life, what is Mexico like? What do they know? They know the desert, the border wall, conflict. They hear about somebody getting, you know, Montezuma's revenge because they were all of that negative stuff. And their view of Mexican culture is this primitive thing. But when you go to Mexico, and I've been in every state but 2, traveling and working over the years in Mexico, you find such thank you, such wonderful family-oriented, striving for education, lush jungles, beautiful plantations, in you know, everything different. And when you look at the culture that was in Mexico prior to when the conquistadors screwed everything up, they were just as advanced, if not more advanced, than the rest of the world. So these weird biases that we get about cultures based on what we see in the media are false. I love going to Mexico, and I have friends in Mexico that I almost consider to be family because of the close ties that we have. So you're right on. You're spot on.
I mean, and that's the problem where they're getting their info from the media. And I'm not going to get in the stuff,
Oh,
but
no,
media always throws a lot of negative out there. Let's show the positive, especially with other countries. Like, it was so funny when we moved to Arizona, people up in Washington were like, "You're moving to the desert. It's just browns and blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "You've never been there. You come down here. We have flowers. People have grass. I mean, we have pools. It's blue. I mean, right now everything's blooming. It's right before the really hot season. Everything's blooming. It's so colorful here. It's unreal." I'm like, you guys just don't know. You're just used to it raining all the time, so the color's full year round. But yeah, you said Flagstaff. Flagstaff's like the state of Washington up there.
Yeah, it's
mean, on the days it doesn't rain. But I mean, it's just big fir trees, grass. It snows up there. There's ski resorts, and people are like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, there's a ski resort in Arizona, people."
I would push back a little bit on that, though, because being in the desert's a wonderful experience, too.
It is.
You go down to Tucson on a great day, and you get out in a buggy and run around in the desert and look at what the world has to offer in the desert. Mm-hmm. It's all good. I mean, I've been as cold in my life in the north at 60, 65 below zero, and I've been as hot as 130 in Saudi Arabia. Ironically, visiting an air conditioner factory, but that's a whole other story. But all of it is good if you learn from it.
It is, because I look at it down here. What I do is I'm looking. They call them mountains, but they're not really mountains because I'm used to mountains in Washington. Yeah. But just looking how everything is caved out and where the water systems once were, and how you got these. If you really hike through the desert and you look up at side of the hills or mountains, you can see the caves where people used to live. Yeah, you could just see how where native homesteads or whatever you want to call them were, and to me, it's all history. I mean, you watch Westerns, you could see that stuff out here because a lot of it was filmed down here. But I mean, it's really interesting going to ghost towns, old mining towns, going down in the mine shafts. I mean, people, it's awesome down here. Just don't come down here during June, July, or August. Did
you read this? Today's conversation is so damn scrumptiously, deliciously, edibly tasty good.
Kenneth, this dude's awesome, man. This is what he does all the time.
I'm going to get that dude a thesaurus for his birthday so you can get even more. That's brilliant.
Kenneth is awesome, man. He throws his stuff down all the time, man.
I had to buy a thesaurus once. I couldn't find another word for thesaurus. Turns out it's word book.
Okay. Ken can help you out. That dude's brilliant. He's a really smart guy out of, I believe, Sugar Land, Texas. I'm correct. So, yeah. So, he's a big fan of the show. He's on a lot too. So, I mean, but he doesn't troll me.
I'll show you how to troll, Kenneth. We'll get together. I'll show you how to push Nick's buttons.
Oh, man. But no, Andrew, I'm that type of person. I just love getting out and seeing things and learning history. Because I want to go to Egypt. I want to go to all the pyramids. I want to do all that stuff because this is what the world was before technology and everything took over. So I can kind of picture on when you watch these documentaries and everything and how we think everything was, and just seeing how much I would say simpler life was, but more difficult if you want to put it in both ways. So I just love that stuff, man.
Yeah, there are some places in the world that I absolutely love and look forward to going back to. And there's places that I've been that I learned my lesson and I'm done. But also, one of the things that I'm constantly encouraging, my kids were all born in Brazil. Everyone in my house can speak at least 3 languages, but that's something that folks don't realize the value of until they go somewhere and they can't communicate. So, the more that we learn how to communicate with people that are different than us, the better we become. And also if you're breaking bread and having meals with folks, it usually when there's food on the table, we tend to get along a lot better.
Yeah. When we were in Mexico once, we went down, they had a big, we were there on the Day of the Dead, Halloween for people. And they're having this big parade going down the road. And so we just stopped by and there's this little restaurant. Well, it was somebody's house, and you just ate in their living room, and they had a porch out front. So we ate there and their washing machine in the background. They're washing laundry, But man, they were such the nicest people. I mean, they're just so appreciative you come in, and just had a conversation with them the best you could. If you couldn't speak Spanish, I mean, but when you get down to those places, like you said, outside of the resorts, I mean, people are very gracious. They're very welcoming. They want you there.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just great, you know. And one place we went, we had a lot of fun was Belize. And we went on this tour. It was through the Mayan caves. So it was a river raft tour, and it was like 7 or 8 miles long. And you just rafted through all the caves of the Mayans, I think it was the salt caves.
Oh, wow.
And it was interesting because there's waterfalls inside of the caves. And I mean, it's dark. You had to wear these little lights on your head and everything to go through. But the funny part, Andrea, I know you would have laughed at this. Everybody's like, God, the water's dripping down on my head. It was all bats, guano, just dripping down off the ceiling.
That's kind of a shitty story to tell.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, that was one of the most fun places tours I've ever been on. You know, we do a lot of excursions and everything and stuff, but God, just the history behind that was just how long it took for the rock to get carved out of the water. It was like 1,000 years for it to get carved a certain way. And oh my God, just stuff like that. Just
have you ever been to Mammoth Caves down in Kentucky?
No. Heard of it.
You got to book ahead, but they've got some cave tours. It's such a well-run, brilliant place, and it's so cool.
Awesome.
It's one of. I went there once with my wife just on a whim. We said, well, we need a vacation this weekend. Let's go. And if you like caves, that's a place to go.
Mr. Kenneth, I'm in the great state of Arizona, so a couple states over from you. So, yes, sir. He thought I was in Austin. There you go. Oh, he said, oh, you're in Arizona. There we go. Yes, I love to go to Sugar Land. Heard a lot about over there. I used to travel around to Austin and Dallas a lot for work. So, but it was before I knew Kenneth. So we'll try it again.
Yeah, it's different than Sugar Daddy, Texas. That's a whole other
thing. Sugar Daddy. Awesome, man. Well, let's start getting wrapped up, man. I loved having you on today. And see, this is where I love how the podcast comes into conversations like this now. You know, because I don't want it to be about business all the time. I want to highlight you, obviously, on what you do, but then show another side of you where people can have fun. So, I mean, thanks for being on today, man. Where can people find you?
I'm right here.
Oh, you're right there? Yeah. Oh, wait. So if you're not where Andrew lives, where can they find you on social media, sir?
I'm in the void here. Actually, here's where I am.
Oh, the gates of hell.
That's Arizona. On a summer day.
It was 102 the other day, so you could have put that up.
Yeah. No, you can find me on LinkedIn. My name, Andrew Deutsch. Go on YouTube and look at Fangledcast, all one word.
Yep.
Yeah. It's I'm going to show you it down here again. Yep. Yeah, I'll show you something funny I was working on so people could subscribe. This is, here, subscribe here.
Nice. I bet.
That was 2 green screens, by the way.
Oh, perfect.
But I'm on LinkedIn. Check me out on the Fangledcast. And our website is fangledtech.com. I've been kind of leaving it here so people would recognize it. And we do, if anybody, in the audience, just simple consultation. We do 2 a week. We don't charge for it. We call it the Pick My Brain session. If you request it, you get 30 minutes of my time at no cost to flesh out an idea with no obligation, whether it's an idea for a new product, marketing, otherwise. Feel free to send us a note through our inquiry page and we'll get back with you and set it up.
Awesome. Hey, phone calls. I went on one of those with Andrew about 6 months ago. A lot of fun, people. And some cool technology in there too. Really cool technology. So, hey, check him out. Like I said, his links are down. His profile's below. His website's below. Keep an eye on it right there. Guys up in that corner. You can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, right next to that eyeball. And then up in the other corner, you can find me on YouTube. Find all past podcasts and future ones there on my YouTube channel. You can find us on Anchor, Clubhouse, Instagram, all those fun ones. I'm not really on Instagram and Facebook that much, but the podcast plays there. So, hey guys, this has been great today. I really appreciate it. And we'll do a shout out to our friend because we talked about our company, Pawn and Nose. So there it was. So, hey, everybody, thanks. Hey, next week we got one more episode. Then we're finishing up season 2 because we are doing a little bit of a rebrand. and then taking about a month off, then coming back for season 3. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that and a lot of big news coming up for the podcast. So we're really excited here. So, hey, Andrew, thanks for being on today. I really appreciate it. Hey, guys, find Andrew. Check him down in the comments. These will be there. So continue on. Everybody, I appreciate all of you. Have a great weekend and a great Saturday, and see you next week.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.